What's going on, people, and welcome back to another flashlight review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Folomov EDC C1. Many of the flashlights that I review on the channel are on the more expensive end of the spectrum, so every once in a while I like to take a little break and move to the opposite end, which are cheaper lights. This model retails for $34.99, and I believe it is exclusive to Illumn.com, where I picked it up in store. For reference, this is the third iteration of the flashlight, the latest model, for which I don't believe anyone else has made a review of yet. I'll overlay a breakdown of how this review will go for your convenience in case you want to skip ahead as well. Going over some of the physical aspects of the flashlight, the construction is full brass, as you can see here. Standard measurements for the flashlight are as follows: 66.8 millimeters in length and 34.5 grams. Spec-wise, it is running a 10440 lithium-ion battery, a Nichia E21A emitter, and an electronic switch. The flashlight arrives in an Altoid-esque can, and it includes the flashlight itself, which I have here. And inside you're going to get a manual, some spare O-rings, and a rechargeable USB cord. The micro USB cord to charge the included 10440 battery is also a new addition to the third version of the flashlight. Now let's talk about what I like. From a physical aspect, the light is very small, and it simply disappears when you have it clipped to your pocket. The added weight of the brass is mostly negligible because of the small size of the light, and the metal has the added benefit as acting as a heatsink for the LED. Something new they've added to this version is a stainless steel bezel, as you can see here. This is a worthy addition in my opinion because of how easily brass itself dents. I'm happy to see that Folomov took a cue from some other hard-use flashlights. And as a basis of comparison, here is my Overready Boss 35, which also uses the stainless steel bezel. Physical aspect aside and moving on to the internals, something that's going to appeal to a lot of flashlight geeks is the feature-rich user interface. The C1 uses an E-switch, which opens up the door to a lot of nifty output hacks. So a press and hold like so is going to give you your moonlight. Consecutive taps from here will give you low, medium, high, which oscillate as depicted on screen. This is distinctly different from earlier versions, which had a wave pattern, which went like low, medium, high, medium, low, and so forth. That pattern was pretty silly, so I'm really pleased to see that they've changed it with this model. Mode spacing is good overall. A double tap from any output, including off, is going to give you turbo. So 1, 2, and there's your turbo. After you've actuated turbo, double taps are going to give you strobe, SOS, and beacon, respectively. So yeah, just a bunch of other additional strobe blinkies that you can get to once you've accessed the turbo mode. The C1 also uses mode memory, which means a single tap from off will default to whichever output from low, medium, high that you last had it on. And a press and hold from any output is going to turn the light off. Some other useful features include a lockout, which is 3 clicks from off, like so. 1, 2, 3. So it'll flash 3 times to signify that you've entered lockout. And now you can see that when I tap it, the light doesn't turn on anymore. This is important because electronic switches are generally easier to actuate than a mechanical one. So this one here is using a mechanical one. You can see that I have to fully depress it. And it's a lot harder to activate than this one here, which just takes a simple tap to actuate the flashlight. Well, it's in lockout right now. To get it out of lockout, it's just another 3 taps. 1, 2, 3. And it'll flash once, and then you're back into your regular modes. A final feature I'm really liking is a locator beacon, which they've added for this third version. I don't know if it's going to pick it up on camera, so I'll probably overlay a second video that shows the locator beacon. It's very, very subtle, and it's almost impossible to notice in the daytime. While you can't turn it off, I don't think there's really any con to having it, except for maybe a little bit of drain on the battery. And I'll delve into that later and why that's not a big deal. So the C1 has been my nightstand light for the last couple of weeks for this reason alone, the locator beacon that is. The other thing that really stood out to me about this flashlight is the LED. It's running a Nichia E21A, which has a cry of 98. For you non-flashlight geeks, that basically means that it's going to render colors super duper well, almost similar to sunlight. I was talking to Calvin, one of the brothers who run Illumn, and apparently this LED has a truly good R9, which is something that some manufacturers use to game to get a higher cry rating. So while some of what he was saying flew over my head, anecdotally I will say that this is one of my favorite LEDs right now. The color temperature comes in at 3000 Kelvin, which is warmer than most, and it comes very close to replicating incandescent lights. For reference, here is the sole incandescent left in my collection. This is a Surefire G2. I believe it was my first Surefire flashlight, actually, one of my first real flashlights, if you will. It's been in my collection since I was in like 4th grade. Yeah, I think that's when I got this light. So that's a good decade pretty much. But as you can see here on camera, very, very warm, and it almost replicates the incandescent color temperature perfectly. So yeah, sweet, sweet LED. The C1 does use a reflector, as you can see, and the beam pattern is mostly flood. I mean, you guys have already seen the beam pattern, but yeah, it's mostly flood with a faint outer hotspot. I don't really rely on beam shots in my videos. I think I've explained why before because they're inherently inaccurate, but just know that it's a lot of flood, and that's pretty much what you would want out of a AAA flashlight like this. Now that I've covered the good, I'm going to deliver what I don't like so much. Firstly, I don't really have much to critique physically except for this pocket clip. The clip is non-reversible, meaning that you can only clip it bezel up to your pants, and maybe to your cap. Like I said earlier, E-switches are more prone to activating than a mechanical switch, so I can see it accidentally turning on if you get up and sit down frequently. I really would have liked to have seen a reversible clip, a S-clip, or just a bezel down clip instead of this one here. That aside, I have a lot more to critique about the driver itself. The driver the C1 is running, while it is indeed very feature-rich, it is also very inefficient. You just need to take one look at the runtimes to know this, and let me pop up the manual to give you guys a better idea of what I'm talking about in terms of runtime. So here is the manual, and that's a bunch of gibberish. Alright, and here are the runtimes. As you can see, you get about 0.5 hours on turbo, which honestly isn't bad, but on low, which is 8 lumens, you get 4.8 hours. This can somewhat be attributed to the battery size, but honestly the runtimes and efficiency of the driver are just downright trash. Using the flashlight daily, I got a little less than a week of use before I had to recharge it. The saving grace here, if there is one, is that it's a rechargeable battery, and it has an integrated USB port, which I'll show off here, actually, so you guys can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So yeah, 10440 battery, and it has an integrated USB charging circuit. So yeah, very convenient actually, and you don't really need to purchase a charger for this light because it not only is the circuit integrated, but they now include the USB cable like I showed earlier. But yeah, you can run regular 10440s in here as well, which I've done with an eFest sometimes. Some other critiques about the driver include the so-called tactical mode group. You can access this mode group with a series of 6 clicks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. And then it's going to blink to signify that you're in tactical mode group. Now the flashlight's only going to come on in turbo, so it's a press and hold for momentary and a single tap for constant on turbo. And then I believe it's 2 clicks for strobe. Yes, 2 clicks for strobe. The problem with this here isn't that it's a bad tactical setup, but rather that it's completely useless on a AAA flashlight. I'd loathe to imagine people using this flashlight in a tactical scenario, especially paired with something like a weapon light. Instead of a gimmicky tactical mode group, a simplified user interface such as low-high for more utilitarian users would have sufficed instead of this. Something else that I'm not a fan of, but might be useful to some people, is the countdown timer. So the way this works is it's 3 presses from on, which will set a timer for 1 minute, and then consecutive clicks will add a minute to that. I'll be honest here and admit that I never took the time to figure out how to program the timer exactly, but that's simply because it's not useful to me. If I did use the feature, it would be when I'm going to sleep, and when I do that, I would normally tail stand my light on my nightstand, which the Folomov EDC C1 doesn't allow for because the switch is proud. So yeah, useless feature to me, but it's nice to have it. Maybe some other people will use it, I don't know. Now, the way the driver manages battery low voltage is also a bit strange. The output isn't completely regulated, and it cuts output in half for all modes when the battery is low. It's not going to do it right now, obviously, because I don't have a low voltage in the battery, and I don't actually have another battery I can swap in. But yeah, just know it cuts the output in half, and you'll definitely know that the battery needs to be recharged. On the topic of output, the spec numbers from Folomov are also overstated. You should not expect the full 335 lumens, although you'd be hard-pressed to tell in real life what you're actually getting. I will say that I've never thought the flashlight was underwhelming in terms of output, but yeah, I'm also really happy with the moonlight mode that some reviewers reported as being 2 lumens. I honestly think it's pretty close to 0.5 lumens for what it's worth. Moving back to battery low voltage management, it will also automatically shut off the beacon when the battery is low to conserve power. Like I said, it's not necessarily a bad thing though, and you'll definitely know when it's time to recharge the battery. These are my main critiques of the C1 itself, but my other concern is the quality control of the flashlights in general. While I was at Illumn, I was told the reason why they aren't currently up on the site is due to the plethora of quality control issues with the C1. For his part, Calvin, one of the owners I was speaking to, was really upfront about the issues. And some of these issues include improper self-fit, Mars in the finish. I think I marred it on my own actually. I don't think it came like that, I'm pretty sure. And flickers with the LED. If I recall correctly, some early reviewers of the C1 even blew the LED on their sample trying to measure runtimes for turbo. The LED blowing out is a little bit more dramatic, but and has since been rectified, but there are still a lot of minor QC niggles with this flashlight. In conclusion, I still bought the C1 knowing full well of these quality control issues, but the parts on mine were also cherry-picked by Calvin while I was there. What I currently own is probably the ideal C1 devoid of any QC issues. This in mind, I would posit that the C1 is still a very good buy despite the somewhat bloated driver and minor niggles I have with the flashlight. I don't think I'd trust the battery life enough to carry it with me on a trip, but around the house and on EDC duty it works just fine. I believe Folomov intends to release a titanium version of the flashlight in the near future, so I'd be on the lookout for that. As always, I'd recommend waiting a little while until all the issues have been found and worked out. This light has a lot of potential for a first foray, and it's probably one of the most feature-rich AAA flashlights I've seen in a while. As always, thanks for watching guys, and I hope you guys found the review informative. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and to subscribe. Peace out.